What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Scal Show, brought to you by Made Hoops. And, this is once again a podcast where we focus on grassroots, but just want to give you guys an update of where I'm at right now. I'm in Dallas, getting ready for game 3 of the NBA Finals. I mean, so far the Celtics have done really well, but you never know until, a team goes on the road how this thing is going to play out. So today's show, it'll be short and sweet, but it'll be some pretty good topics. Number one, Jrue Holiday, Derek White. You don't see, and I know that those guys probably when they were on their high school team, they were the best players and had the ball in their hands. But right now, like the biggest difference has been the role players of the Celtics. And it's weird calling Jrue Holiday a role player. He's a champion. He's a gold medalist. He's going back to the Olympics this year. He's signed 3 max contracts, but the Celtics don't even run a play for him and the spacing in which he plays. The same thing with kind of an underrated guy. Why are we not seeing more of these guys promoted in the game of basketball? Defense, positional versatility, stuff like that. Also, if talking USA basketball with Holiday, we should talk about Caitlin Clark and, the decision to not put her on the team. I have my own opinions about that. Whether she is or isn't the top 12 players on the team, there's a lot of business side of it that kind of goes into the Olympics. You can make an argument that the U.S. Men's national team, even the Dream Team, you can make an argument that Larry Bird at that point was not a top 12 player, or Magic Johnson at that point of his career was not. And they left Isaiah Thomas off, who probably was. So there is some politics involved. And then the last thing that I want to get into, which is I'm new to the AAU business world, but my team White Mama just won, like they call it the finals, the local finals, right? And some of the top teams just opted out of playing. So I want to get into like my opinions on some of that stuff. And I don't know why they opt out of playing. I always think you should love to play, but I'll get into some of the things that I think. But with that being said, we're going to bring in producer Dan to help me understand the Jrue Holiday and Derek White conversation. Why is it that we only promote, now, like I said before, I get it. Those guys would be elite. If you watch a Jrue Holiday mixtape, it's elite, right? But like they're role players because they don't get plays ran for them, but they're super effective. Holiday, he had 26 points on 11 of 14 shooting with 10 rebounds. Derek White, obviously making clutch jumpers. He had a game where he had 35 points against Miami. I mean, Derek White gets a little bit of love and they call his number once in a while. But Dan, are we going and looking and scouting and saying, like, there's some players like this that can help a team win in college right away, that could maybe even make it to the NBA? Are we only promoting like the on-ball players that can create their own shot?
I think it's an interesting conversation because if you just think about how it probably progresses in terms of player development, scouting, drafting, recruiting, all that stuff, each level you would think you basically just take the cream off the top and that's who moves to the next level, right? And so if you're looking at a player that affects the game like Jrue does, if that player at the high school level only, quote unquote, does what Jrue does, is he part of that cream that very clearly moves to the next level? Or does it take a fine recruiting eye to say, I'm a Power 5 school, I need a guy who can do what he does, even if he only averages 10 points a game in college, but also gets 6 rebounds and 4 assists and a steal and a block. But it is interesting now that Jrue is in the league and affecting the game for 10 years here. Mm-hmm. He's not only a guy who can win a championship, arguably as a number 2, him and Middleton there in Milwaukee next to Giannis, but he's a staple of USA basketball. Like he's the straw that stirs the drink on that team because mm-hmm. defensively he changes everything. He can be a primary ball handler for you. He can get a bucket if you need him to. So I think it's a question of, do guys who are coming up feel like if they settle into a role like that too early, they're not going to be the ones who get pulled up to the next level and the next level and the next level. And you actually have to get to the highest level and be comfortable playing that role in order for that sort of player to shine through.
But when you start looking at like my boy Cooper Flagg, if you ever watch him at Mount Verde, he rarely has the ball in his hands like going ISO. like, I get it. That team is stacked, right?
Right.
But he all the right in the world to have the ball in his hands and to dribble and go ISO and everything like that, but he doesn't, right? So and he's the number one player in the country for many. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the way he played at EYBL and Maine United and USA Basketball, but he's a jack of all trades, right? But the information coming through in the NBA, could he ever be a 25 per game scorer, right? Like, it doesn't. And I might be wrong by this, right? It doesn't feel like we're looking at who's going to help me win, right? And I'm sure, like, if Holiday was on a team that was stacked, like, Holiday has Tatum and Brown. When Holiday goes to the dunker spot, you guys know where the dunker spot is, right? Like, underneath the hoop, kind of hash line to hash line, not on the perimeter, not playing 5 out. When he goes to that spot, our team is so much more effective. He can make decisions from down there. We don't see a lot of that in AAU. He could catch, power dribble finish on the other side. We don't see a lot of that. He can also peel out to the three. Jrue Holiday led the NBA this year in corner threes, both sides, right? So I just wonder, if a scout sees a Jrue Holiday, lockdown defender, super versatile on defense, can guard up, guard down, and he can offensively stay out of the way, play the dunker spot, he becomes one of the most valuable players on an AAU team. My biggest problem, and I don't have a lot with my U17 team, is like convincing a player to go to the dunker, right? I'm always struggling with that. Like, I need a player in the dunker. I need you there, or on dribble penetration, I need you to cut there. And in practice, my number one complaint about my offense is I need a guy at the dunker. I need to open up the floor. I need to open up more driving lanes. But I wonder if those guys feel like, what am I going to do down there? And I'm not going to get like the rec I deserve, which I respect that too, because these guys want to get recognition. They want to go to college. But like, will a college coach look at a kid that works that dunker, it does all the things that a Holiday does and give him a scholarship? Or they think, well, I could take a star player and put him in the dunker. I can't take a dunker and make him a star player. Saying you're exclusively there. Like, if you're a corner 3-point shooter, a low dunker player, and you could defend and like, you distribute the ball, like, you're super valuable in the AAU world, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. And thinking about it again in terms of the pro game, like, and you may be able to speak to this as well as anybody, is it a problem on the team side where if you're picking in the first round, especially in the lottery, are GMs looking for upside so much that there's a reason why a guy like Malcolm Brogdon falls later in the draft? A guy like Draymond is a second rounder because, yes, they're 22, 23 years old. You can plug them right in. Jaime Jaquez is another perfect example. Are GMs looking for upside with those picks? And for that reason, guys fall. And then it creates a cycle where the player says, hey, I want to be a lottery pick. I want to be seen as being able to do the things that GMs are proving and showing that they find the most value in. And so then you have the demand from the GM side creates who these players sort of mold themselves after. That's just a thought that came to my head.
Sure. So I'll agree with that, right? But Aaron Gordon, good example, tried to be the man, right? Started at a young, early age, whatever he tried to do, right? Orlando tried it, didn't work. Tried to go ISO from the perimeter, doesn't work. Can't really run pick and roll, doesn't really work. Now he goes to Denver. Obviously, they have a unique player, Nikola Jokic. But now Aaron Gordon's operating areas are low dunker, slasher, corner 3-point shooter, and wins a championship last year. He's going to be rewarded. And to be honest with you, I don't know Aaron Gordon that well, but he seems happier, like, playing this role. It seems like he's like super effective. He's like really involved, and it's like you seem like a happier player. And happy is the wrong word. Like you seem like a more confident player. You feel like a happier player. You feel like it looks like you love to be out there hooping every day. And it really, because he took his game and kind of minimized it. And by the way, like, if he would have been better in that game 7 and second, like, he didn't get a bucket. I thought Minnesota did a really good job of guarding that. But like, in general, like, his value of being down there, and especially last year, it was like it was one of the most important positions, and it allowed Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and all those guys to have space to work. So I don't know, for all you coaches out there, or really, to me, it's not about the coaches, whether they pick a guy or not. What's really difficult for me is for me to convince like a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid that you could be great in the dunker spot, and not necessarily a big, by the way, because the bigs nowadays are shooting threes. It could be like a tweener guard, like a 1-2 combo guard. And when in Boston, when I had Rajon Rondo, we put Rajon Rondo in the dunker spot, and we operated a lot of our offense from there. So it's a unique thing. It's a challenge for me. I don't have the answers of how to convince kids. I never see trainers working with people in that spot, but it's a super valuable spot. It's almost like the main piece in offenses that really work, as opposed to just going 5 out. Especially like for me, I have Ace Flag and Andrew Alexenko. Those guys, they're range shooting 4s and 5s. So I got them at the top of the key, setting pick and pop ball screen. I still need a guy in that position. And I just haven't, I was just wondering, like watching the Celtics and then last year watching, Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon and watching all these players work in that area to be effective and win. Why is it so hard for me to convince players to do that?
Yeah, and my hope is that as you see more prominent examples of pros who excel in that role, it becomes cool, right? Because that's half the thing is, how do you make the dunker spot cool? How do you make the glue guy cool? My hope is that guys see that in the pro game and say, oh, maybe that's what I can do for my high school team or my AAU team, and still end up with the scholarship that I'm seeking. So
yeah,
we'll see.
All right. So moving on, I'd like to talk about like the hot topic right now. Caitlin Clark not making the U.S. national women's team, right? And like, I get it. Like that team is hard to make. It's top 12 players, USA basketball. The difference in the NBA is you have a lot of foreign players who can fit into the top 30, right? If you just look at the top 30 players in the NBA, they're guys from all over the place. The U.S. If you watch the WNBA, it's not littered with amazing talent from Canada, Slovenia, there's a few, right? But how come it's not just about money? Like everything is about money. And all I hear about the WNBA is them complaining about money. This would be like a great opportunity. And I don't stop there. I don't think it should just be Caitlin Clark on that team. I think like team should have like a range. Like, I'm fine. You want to put Diana Taurasi? I think she's going to her 6th Olympics, right? Like 6, she'll win 6 gold medals. That's incredible when you think about the time span, the 4 years in between. And she's going to go, I'm fine with I don't mean to call anybody old, but the old heads, right? Like the people, established stars and up and coming stars. That team is never going to lose. I just don't understand from the standpoint of the WNBA, trying to promote the game, trying to get eyeballs to watch. NBC is about to be a broadcast partner with the NBA. They're forking over billions of dollars. When you negotiate your new TV deal, you don't want NBC to say, man, you guys did us a service by, putting Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Cameron Brink, even though she's playing in the 3X, which I really like, by the way. You guys did us a solid by putting her on the team. We really appreciate it. But I just don't understand why a league that actually last year, now their revenue will be a lot higher this year. They actually made less money than the NBA G League did. The G League, they made less money than the G League, and they have a great opportunity to really promote the sport. I do not understand why Caitlin Clark and some young up-and-coming WNBA players are not on that team.
I think there is some merit to that conversation about having age tiers to the team. I mean, you see it with, Anthony Edwards on Team USA the previous summer. I think that was a catalyst for the leap that he took this year, because there's just something to it. I think Bill Simmons has this theory that there's always like a Team USA guy who the summer before his breakout uses that as a catalyst for his big season. And, Ann has talked about how Team USA helped him with that. That Caitlin's going to be the foundation of your program going forward after this Olympics. So, even if she doesn't play a lot because there's a lot of talented players ahead of her, it just seems like that experience is valuable. You see it, in the pro game too, where younger guys get a chance to be a 6th man or, just be at the back end of the bench for a team that goes to the finals. And then, when salary cap things and all that take place and they have to step up, they're a little bit seasoned. Maybe they weren't on the court for it, but they know what the ride is like. They know what it takes. They learn from them. So, she's obviously going to have a ton of Olympic success in her career. That's coming up. But, I think there is some merit to the discussion about if you're only going to play, 8 to 9 people, having her there, having her travel, and you mentioned the marketing angle as well. I think there was merit there. There's no doubt that the women who were selected are talented and worthy of it, but
No question.
There's sometimes other considerations that you would think may go into it, and was worth the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Does the NBA need the revenue? Probably not. Like the revenue, there's going to be players within 5 years making $100 million a year. Maybe 10 years. Maybe 10 years from now, we'll get a player that makes $100 million a year, right?
Yep.
And the WNBA salaries, we know what they are, right? They're average less than 100,000. They're trying to fly charter. They're trying to take that next step. And this is the year that they're taking that next step. But if eyeballs matter, man, TV deals matter, money matters, and a league can operate so much better, more efficiently, the popularity, all that stuff matters. I was just surprised. Now, they have the right to do what they want to do from a basketball standpoint. If they felt like it in their world, if they feel this way, that's fine. That revenue doesn't matter. They're not going to do something for the money. That's fine if they feel that way. They don't. When we hear about complaining about, no charters for us, our salaries are this, and we don't have practice facilities like the NBA teams. You have to make the right decision. When David Stern took over the NBA, it used to be they didn't market like the individual as much. And like the whole Michael Jordan phenomenon and putting Michael Jordan on and everything like that. They made a hard shift to the individual player. Obviously, it worked out. Look where the NBA is at right now. It seems like the WNBA is fighting that. I think the players are fighting that. Like, start embracing, a young up-and-coming players. And when Victor Wembanyama, who's by the way, he's nasty, right? Like, when he comes into the league, all you hear from the veteran players is, man, the league is changing. This dude's going to be tough in the future, right? He's going to be the face of the league. He's going to be an MVP. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. Like, the young players in the NBA really do promote the young guys. I don't understand why they're not promoting the Caitlin Clark. So, last topic of this pod, you have to explain to me. So, I live in Massachusetts. Team White Mamba is based in New Hampshire, so I can have some of the kids from Maine, some kids from Massachusetts, right? We just won like our local, finals, right? Like, it's supposed to be all the best teams in the state come and play. You got some easy games early on based off of seeding, and then it gets progressively harder, right? We had like one tough game. But why is it that the established programs opt out of these when it's not a live to go somewhere else? Like, I get it. If you're going up against EYBL, MAID, Three Stripe, whatever you're going up against, I get it. I really do. Under Armour, I understand all that. I just don't understand when everyone has a week off, why are you not promoting your players to play? And by the way, a lot of these rosters have 12, like I carry 8 because I feel bad about kids being on the roster and not playing them. Maybe it's a mistake on my part. But why not? All right, fine. If your top 5 don't want to play, then why not play 6 through 13 on your team and let those guys get a chance to shine? I don't understand why top programs are opting out. Help me out with it, producer Dan.
Yeah, it's you and I were talking before the show. The Hoopers want to hoop, right? So the hope is that you want to be out there every weekend, whatever the level of competition is, and just getting reps in because players that are on that track to play in college, to play in the pros, there's never a shortage of things you need to work on. So, yes, if you play lower competition, that can be a place where you fall into some bad habits because you're not, you're getting away with some stuff that you might not against the elite competition. But, if you're a lead guard who is typically the first scoring option on your team, and you have a weekend, you got games here, go ahead, be a distributor, see what you can do, move around a little bit, move to a wing spot, see how you can change your game, shift your game, and just get reps in, because there's not going to be any time where you've tapped out as a player, and there's nothing better than game reps to try to experiment, see how things look in real game speed, and hopefully grow your game. So I'm with you. I think if you're a hooper, you want to hoop, and so if there's games available.
I'm sorry for interrupting. We had a game where a team, like, they knew that they were outmatched, right? And they held that ball for 45 seconds, right? Moving it side to side, drive, jump stop, kick it back out, right? There was no shot clock at this thing, right? So you don't really see that a lot in AAU. Coaches can't convince players to do that, but this group did that, right? And I thought it was really good for my guys. Like, at halftime, we were only up by 2, and they lacked, like, you could see that they lacked defensive discipline. Now, when we go to May, there's a shot clock and everything like that. But when you play against patient teams, you got to, like, as the shot clock is going down, your intensity has to go up. And you can see it, like, when you watch NBA games, like, typically first option, second option, usually not there, but third option starts to open up. You can get teams in rotation. So even though we ended up winning this game at the end, I really felt like that first half was good for us. Like, it was one possession where we guarded for like 45 seconds, and then they got an offensive rebound, kicked it back out, and did it all over again. And I could see, like, my guys were, like, really frustrated guarding that, and they started to reach and they started to gamble, and then the other team took advantage of that and knocked down a 3, right? So it was, like, real challenging for my guys, which I don't know if I would have faced that if I would have just told them to just opt out and then wait until I play in all the top things. There's no doubt. I'm not arguing. You want to play in front of coaches. You want to play top teams. You want to go on circuits, right? You want to be on, and that's where you want to be, right? I'm not arguing that. What I'm arguing is, like, I don't understand why, if you have players and these are the best players in the area, why would you not want those guys to hoop? Why would you not want to be challenged in different ways? Like you're saying, like, okay, we're gonna put we're gonna run our 2 guard at point and our point guard at 2. We're gonna run our 5s at 4s and switch it, or our wings. We're gonna run small. We're gonna run a jumbo lineup. We're gonna see how the jumbo lineup works for us. I don't understand it. I think it's an emphasis on winning and not wanting to lose, as opposed to saying, like, there's a chance to get better. And a lot of these teams opted out. And they could do what they want to do. It's their program. They clearly know what they're doing. But I don't know if this is happening everywhere, but I was really surprised that it happened in this particular setting.
Yeah, no doubt. Interesting. It's the one other thing that comes to mind as you're talking through it in terms of styles and stuff. It reminds me of the NCAA tournament where, a 1 or 2 seed runs into a mid-major who is comfortable, playing a 55-53 game. And it's a team full of athletes and run and gun and all that, and they just aren't sure what to do with it. Or they run into a pressing team that gets them outside their comfort zone and exposes the fact they don't have a good ball handler or 2 ball handlers that can take that pressure for 40 minutes. You can be told about that all day until you're in the pressure cooker and dealing with it. You don't really know. And so it's beneficial for those kids to see that before they go back for their high school seasons, hopefully their college seasons as they progress. The more you see in real time, the better player you're going to end up being.
Yeah. If I as a basketball player never played against competition that was worse than me, especially like just growing up, or like even now, like pickup and everything like that, I would never play. So I'm not. Pickups with NBA players they're not all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, so I have to play the younger college guys, but sometimes I just go play like in the old man leagues just to have fun, but whatever. It's not my thing. Producer Dan, what do you got for, you think the Dallas Mavericks are going to win one of these next 2 games?
I think they win one of the next 2, but I do think that Boston creates a really difficult matchup for them. And if I'm Minnesota, I'm kicking myself a little bit because I think Minnesota was actually a better matchup for Boston. They matched up better against Boston than this Dallas team does, but Minnesota couldn't get it done against Dallas. So I think you get a Luka game. I think maybe Kyrie back outside Boston can get in his groove. I think they get 1 or 2, but I do think it's a gentleman's sweep for Boston. I can't see it going 6. I can't.
Yeah. So just to let you know that after we went on Game 5, don't go on the Zoom waiting for me to dial in. 24 hours out of commission. I told all the people I might not show up to work, right? So we went 5, you can figure out different things to do.
Awesome.
I'm not picking up the phone.
I'll go solo. How about that?
That's what we'll have to do. All right. That's it for a good show today. A lot of topics, you guys. Like I said, you can get this where all podcasts. You can get it on Spotify, Apple. Last thing is leave your comments. We'd love to address all the challenging questions. Producer Dan, once I tweeted out and I've been talking about it, a lot of people have been hitting me up privately about, the challenges, and they're really glad that we're doing this like some of the challenges. So remember the questions and everything like that. Probably send out a tweet asking for more questions now that the season has kicked off. And by the way, if your kid plays other sports, let us know. Like it's not to me exclusive to basketball, even though I'm a hoop head. But if there's challenges other places, maybe we can answer some of those questions as well. So thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for us next week.